Here's a question for you. Is a family of three making $500,000 a year in New York City middle class? So that's the debate that has sparked a lot of conversation. It was done recently by New York Times, an article that they put out there. Now, it's about one Upper West Side family living on about $500,000. They say they are doing okay. Now, of course, people took to social media to share their thoughts.
They were mad.
They were big mad. Some people called the article out of touch. Others argued that it's an accurate portrayal of the cost of living. So what does it actually mean to be middle class in America? We are joined by CBS News contributor and Harvard economics professor, Roland Fryer. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm great.
All right. So what was your reaction to this New York Times article and the debate around it?
Well, I thought the family was a little bougie, but they weren't totally out of touch. I mean, they're pointing to something real, which is folks in the middle class feel squeezed. I think the response was typical of how we live in America today. It was very polarized, and no one could find any common ground in what they were saying. Look, the middle class does feel squeezed, so I get it.
Well, let's talk about the middle class. A family of three, Upper West Side, making around $500,000. Would you consider that? Would you describe that as middle class?
No, it's not middle class.
Yeah. What is middle class?
Well, that's one of the issues. Is there are lots of definitions of it, but roughly between $60,000 and $150,000 a year is considered middle class. But look, that's not how most Americans internalize it. You know, my grandfather lived in a very, very impoverished neighborhood in the South. He thought he was middle class too. Why? Because he knew people that had more money than him, and he knew people who had less money than him.
Right.
If you really read the New York Times, that's kind of what they're saying. They're saying we're middle class for this area. But they are not middle class. Let's be clear.
Because Roland, doesn't it depend on where you live in the country? If you're living in the South, you know, $500,000, you're living very, very.
That's a good point, Gayle.
And here in New York, the prices are outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, the definition of middle class doesn't vary that much. But how it feels to be middle class varies a lot for reasons that would be obvious. Rents are more expensive in New York City than they are in Texas, et cetera.
So do we need to change our thinking about what middle class is? Is it on us to think differently?
Well, I think we ought to have some perspective about what it means to be middle class. I mean, I hear all the time, you know, the middle class of my parents is better than the middle class now.
Yes.
That, too, I think is false. We have to remember what it was like to live in 1975, right? Your car would kill you. Health care wasn't nearly as good. We didn't have the internet. And so part of the thing that we're dealing with here is that people have adapted to this new lifestyle. And so, yes, I think we ought to change our definitions, but we also ought to take a step back and have a bit of perspective.
So, do we need a reality check? That's what it sounds like you're
I tried to say that nicely, yes.
Yeah. But so Professor, we hear in America that this is the land of opportunity. This is the land of economic mobility. Is that mobility still in place now? You mentioned people in previous generations. Are people still able to move up to the middle class and beyond?
100% they are. But we can't take that for granted. The things that actually worry me are that the investments in education and early child care, those things have gone away from the political discussions. And that's what worries me, because if we don't do that, if we don't ensure that every kid, regardless of their zip code, can get a high-quality education, and that economic mobility that has been part of the fabric of America might well go away.
Do you think we should add financial literacy to early education?
Sure, we should, and a lot of folks are trying that. And it should be in middle schools, it should be in high schools, but we really got to focus on basic education as well, right? We've dismantled the Department of Education. You know, education reform is almost a foregone thought here in America, and that's what I'm really worried about in terms of economic mobility, right? I mean, if we truly want everyone to have a chance at the middle class, we've got to invest in those basics.
You're right about that. I look forward to having you on again. It's good to have you in studio. Roland Fryer, thank you.